Felt ultimately disappointing in the trophy, but we all know you've got bigger fish to fry, really.
Yeah, without being disrespectful of the competition or anybody in particular. I think my job when I first came here, just to talk about the football club, let alone take over as a manager, was all about the survival campaign, and what they were prepared to do, and investment, etc., players, and next thing you know, you get your feet under the table and start feeling for everybody and fighting for every point, etc., and then you've got an opportunity, I suppose, to have a look at the squad more than anything else. And I think if I'm being selfish, without being big-headed or anything like that, when you've won 4 games in the league, I think we've only made one change, in them 4 games. So really, I've had a look at what I call match day eyes, players in match day mode. I've only had a look at 12 players, so I needed to see the rest of them, I've had a look at that now, and I'm not saying Peterborough Sports by any stretch of the imagination or trying to be disrespectful was a bad venue. It was a non-league ground, which I've played at many non-league grounds in my career, and you've got to get past the situation of non-league football. You've got to get past the opposition because they're fighting for what they think is a scalp. All of them things we have to take into consideration. And having made 7 changes, I'm upsetting the rhythm of the team. That's my responsibility, and I hold my hands up for that, which I've said many times. But we're now back to the grind and back to 14 games in this competition to try and stay in this division. And that's the deal. It was 18 games when we first started. We now got 12 points on board from the 4 games, and we want to try and improve that. The most disappointing thing was Tuesday night being postponed. When you've won 4 games on the bounce, players are playing to a certain extent with a bit more freedom, a bit more expression, if you like, and certainly a little bit more belief. And when the Solihull Moors game was postponed, yes, I was pleased because we would have had, I would have probably hazarded a guess, maybe 3 players would have been down with flu. So to clear the decks, with a game being postponed, to clear the decks for a couple of days has actually done us, hopefully, fingers crossed, a good favour. We've trained today. Everybody's back on the training ground. More importantly, Brownie, Zach Brown, who was pulled off at half-time in the Peterborough Sports game because he quite simply couldn't run. And if Brownie can't run, he can't play, because that's what he does best. He can get 13 kilometres in. He's not just a runner, don't get me wrong, he's a damn good footballer as well, but at the same time, if you can't do 13 kilometres, you won't be getting as many touches of the ball as what you're used to. So with Brownlee not being able to do that, that was a testimony to me as a manager of a team who's now learning a little bit more about the players who are now committed to the cause, and that commitment is now purely and solely down to survival.
I sensed after the Peterborough game, you get done by a late goal. That can happen to any club, any time. It was the performance level that really frustrated you though, and perhaps 1 or 2 didn't take the chance they were offered?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but I've got to cut them some slack as well, and I'm an honest guy, and it wasn't an ideal scenario for footballers, say for instance like Kai Lissimo, going in there and I'm demanding certain things from a central midfield player just by definition, measuring how far they can run. We know Kai can run, but getting them second balls and then playing from there, and he had a chance to play with Brownie in the first half and then with the skipper in the second half. But it wasn't his game. His game is probably more elegant than that, if truth be known. So, and I'm not being disrespectful of non-league football. It was just it was a battle, and we didn't win the battle. And that's not the box I want to tick week in and week out. I want to tick that box every game from now to the end of the season. If we win the battle, we've got the right to play. If we don't earn the right to play, forget about it. That's the way we are approaching games, and it's not 1 to 11, it's 1 to 20 now. But I probably made too many changes at one time, We're now back to the league campaign, and I could name you the Solihull Moors team now. Would I be making changes if we'd won that game? Would I be making changes for Saturday? Probably not. But that's football, Some players would have been playing on Tuesday night and wouldn't have been playing. And now I've got an opportunity to put them in on Saturday because we've got 3 or 4 days more training, 3 or 4 days more preparation. And Dorking is a different prospect. Certainly at home, I'm expecting another good crowd. I'm sure the chairman is going to do everything he possibly can to get over 3,000 again. And with that in mind, we want that atmosphere. We want the feel-good vibe, from leaving Agra at 5 o'clock on Saturday evening, or even 8:30 from the Harriers Arms, because you've enjoyed your day, and the only way you can enjoy your day is winning the game.
Dorking, obviously down there with you, so to speak, and we mentioned before there's like, if you like, a mini league at the bottom, you've got to win, so they're all big games, I know, but you need to beat the sides in and around you.
It's quite funny because, you know, you look at the league table, and yeah, we've talked about how we've hit a rich vein of form. Form counts for nothing. At the end of the season, it's relegation, survival. That'll count for everything. How we get there, it doesn't matter. You know, but bottom line is, when you look at the league table, if you look at the current league form, it's like Chesterfield, AFC Fylde, and Kidderminster Harriers. You know, so there's three out of the two out of the top three in the current league form are in the bottom four, supposedly, when I first arrived at Kidderminster. So, as I say, the form will count for nothing unless we survive. But performance is important, you know. When you get 3,000 fans coming in week in and week out, if we played the way we played at Peterborough Sports every week, that 3,000 fans would dwindle, because they want to see winning football, of course they do, but they want to see good football as well. And we're not at that stage yet where we can just let the chains off the warriors, as it were, you know, because they're going into battle, they're prepared for that battle, and the most important part is we win that battle and we win the game. How we do that at this moment in time is not really 100% important, as long as the supporters stay with us, because we will eventually play football. I don't know when that'll be, but we'll eventually play some good football.
You continue to reshape the squad. Midfielders, one in this week, or one out. Regan Griffiths in, first of all. Tell us a bit about him.
I've seen Regan play on a couple of occasions. I think he likes the ball. He likes to play in an area of the field which, if we can command in the latter stages of this competition, the league I'm talking about, if we can command that area of the field of play, a lot of people tell you that if you win the midfield battle, you know, you win the game. There's a lot more to football than that nowadays, you know. But he's one of them that can command a presence in the centre of the park. You know, he's got a battle on his hands. He's got the skipper in there, and he's got a lad who's doing 12 and a half, 13 kilometres, who's made a place for himself in Brownie, and Kai Lissimo, who now is fighting for his place. And you know, you're going into a competition with places where you want players, you know, to be earning the right to play, but also be earning the shirt and staying in that midfield berth because we've won the last game. And that's normally a sign that you are going to give the same guy the shirt. But at the same time, he's providing competition and training. And watch Regan in there. We had the four of them battling for the midfield too for Saturday's team in a good session this morning, I must admit. And Regan came out with flying colours, you know, in amongst it. So it's always nice when the skipper's looking over his shoulder thinking, hello, somebody else coming for my shirt here. Because if he's playing and we're playing, then there's every chance we'll be playing the right type of way.
Joe Loseley, though, has moved on. Tell us a bit about the decision behind that.
Joe, I think, was at the stage where it was sort of make or break time in terms of what he could give us, you know, whether he can give us 1 game, 2 games, 5 games, and the medical people were making decisions on that. Excuse me, I've just got a hair in my mouth there. The medical people were part and parcel of that decision making process, but ultimately it was going to be what he could give us in the end. And it was looking likely. I mean, he's a great guy, he's a great kid. Sent me a lovely text message, really disappointed that he couldn't represent me and represent Kidderminster Harriers between now and the end of the season, hopefully in a successful survival campaign. But for somebody to do that, that's normally a sign he's a decent person, you know. And if I've got enough decent people in that change room, we've got a chance. But Joe was probably at the stage where he could maybe only play maybe 1 game, if two at a push. And that would have been fully fit, so I'd have had to arrange games behind closed doors. Very distracting, and you know the focus is going to be on them 14 games alone, full stop. So you know, players who have gone out on loan, they've gone out on loan with a view to come back because they've got match fitness. Joe wouldn't have really had much chance to get that match fitness, so we decided to part our ways. And I really do wish him well, purely and solely down to the message he sent me. There's a good person in there, you know.
We've got about a month till deadline day at this level. It's usually the 3rd Thursday of March. Are you still looking to bring others in?
Yes, I think we're on the lookout still. You can never count your chickens. You know, you always think, oh, I've got 2 for each position, and then lo and behold, you get a couple of injuries and you've got a couple of setbacks, the key areas, and you haven't got enough. Football's like that. Always will be on the lookout, regardless of what division you're in or what position you're in, but the window not closing. It's almost like a throwaway comment when you say the third Thursday in March. It's like you're going back 20 years for me. It's to them great days when it was the last day and nothing else could be done. Now you've got transfer windows, it's like, it's boring to tell you the truth. But I'd rather be in the Premier League, don't get me wrong. For me, we'll be on the lookout. There'll be only players that we think are going to come in and improve us. And at the moment, we've won 4 games out of 4, and the team hopefully is going in the right direction. So that improvement will have to be immense, if truth be known, because the players who are playing are pulling up trees.
And if anybody's coming in, will someone have to go out, as in this week? Obviously, Joe Leasley left and Regan Griffiths came in.
Not necessarily. I do actually, I've said to the chairman, ideally you want competition for every position, want 2 goalkeepers, 2 right backs, you name it, go right the way through. The players who can play in multiple positions, the ones who can actually multitask in, like if I say Oxley Chamberlain, for instance, can play right wing back, right full back, right hand side, centre back and midfield. And that covers a multitude of sins at times, but they also want to run a games in that position. They have got an argument against, I was playing here one week and I'm playing there the next week. It's a bit upsetting or disturbing to the individual when you haven't had much chance to work with them at that. But the ones who can multitask, the ones who can play in various positions are priceless at this level. But quite often you see them on the bench waiting to come on in a certain position, and then when they do come on, if that player's not injured and he's fit for the next game, then it's one of them. It's an argument to and fro, but I would have said a squad of 17 or 18 players between now and the end of the season, if we do use all of them. As I've said, at the moment we've only used 12 in the 4 games. If that continues, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Final point, you're standing here obviously with a towel around your neck, looking like, you mentioned, Zach Brown covers plenty of kilometres in 90 minutes. You've also been covering a few yourself.
I've just done a few laps of Agra. As you know, I'm preparing for the half marathon, London Landmarks half marathon for charity. And as I'm running around there, I'm cursing Brian Horton and Sam Allardyce in particular. Both of them have suffered from prostate cancer. Both of them, thankfully, have rang the bell and they're through. But I'm running for that charity, as we know. It's been put out there. I want help. I want somebody to run alongside me. Macca's not doing me any favours. He won't run with me. None of the players can run with me because they've got a game on Saturday. So I'm asking the people of Kidderminster, come to training on Mondays and Thursdays after training and run around the pitch with me at Agra. Please give me some help. Not just sponsorship, just please give me some help.
Lovely, thank you.
Just wanted to capture your thoughts as well, just on something you mentioned there in terms of not always being able to get a run in a particular position for a player where you can get a good look at them. I guess that's one of the things that counts against you coming in with so few games left of the season. Over the course of a whole season, you can normally give the players the game time they need, but there is a bit of short-termism about this, isn't there? How do you approach that?
As you're seeing the question, and you clearly have just thought about it because of the answer I've given moments ago, I think pre-season is priceless to a manager, and I think when a manager has a full pre-season and he has a full squad to choose from minute one, I don't think you've got any complaints. As far as I'm concerned, if you get the sack, it's because something's gone drastically wrong. Whether that be you've lost a changing room or you're not getting results that you think you should have got with the squad that you've got. Recruitment in pre-season is vital. Fitness levels, therefore, are vital. Injuries are so important that you get minimal injuries, and I know we can always say that, but I've come in here and in 4 weeks, in the space of 4 weeks, to be able to play the same team almost 90% of the time and only make one change, whether that be gold for Sam Bellis or, I made changes in the Peterborough game in the last match. But that was chosen by myself because I hadn't had a pre-season with these guys. I don't know who was capable of playing in what position. So then you go on the backroom staff. The backroom staff that were already here that have survived the campaign and the management team have gone and they've survived because of certain things, input, etc., etc. They're still doing a good job. And I'm asking them, what do you think about, say, for instance, Samson or the lad who's gone back to Chesterfield, Hobson? Because you haven't seen them play. Maybe you've just witnessed a game, which I had a chance against Altrincham in the Cup. I've witnessed a game, I've seen Kai playing in the midfield and I thought, hello, there's something to work with there. Then you watch him in training. Training's training. And don't get me wrong, if you don't train properly, you're never going to play properly. So training is important, but games are so match day for me. It's what you're paid for. This is what a professional does. You know, he plays football on a Saturday. He doesn't play football Monday to Friday. He actually gets his shirt and then plays Saturday, and he keeps his shirt because of that performance. So all of them things I'm seeing, not in abundance, but with definitely 12. But I'd like to see it with 17 or 18, because that is proper competition for places.